Hello, Internet, and welcome to this episode of Behind the Scenes. In this one, I'm going to be talking about a pretty common production technique called doubling. And essentially, what you do is you record a track, say usually like a vocal, guitar, or keyboard track of some sort, and you record the same part again, right over the same track. And what this does, it kind of widens the sound of that certain track to help it stand out in a mix, or you can help it fill up space if you pan it left or right as well. And this is usually done with instruments other than bass or drums, although that doesn't mean you can't, because really it's up to you. At this point, I recommend that you go get some headphones, because there's going to be some pretty cool audio effects going on, but that you might not be able to hear just on laptop speakers. So pause the video right now, go get some headphones, and come back when you have them. So if you're watching now, I'll assume that you've got headphones or are confident in your speaker system setup. Let's get started. Say I've got a track that I want to double that goes like this. Blah, 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 blah. I'd want to re-record the exact same track and have them play over top each other like this. Blah, 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 blah. And you'll notice that the second take isn't quite the same as the first one, nor is it quite at the same time. And this is exactly what we want, because it gives us that really cool phasey effect. I'll play it again for you. Blah, 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 blah. I personally find that when you're listening to a song, vocal doubling is usually the easiest to recognize, because usually with other instruments, you might pan the other tracks left or right, so you can't really hear the effect as much. Although that is another trick that I like to use myself, and so I will let you hear what it sounds like now. Blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty cool too. But at this point, if you're fairly new to recording or don't really know much about it, yet know that most of it is done on software like what I'm using right now, you might be asking yourself, well, why don't I just copy the first take? Isn't that good enough? Well, let's listen to what that does. Blah, 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 blah. Now there's absolutely no phasing effect of any kind. Let's listen to the first takes again, and you'll see what I mean. Blah, 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 blah. Now we've got it. So the only thing that copying the exact same take does is make the overall volume louder, because it's the exact same take. When we record a different track, we get that phasing effect because it's a different take. All those little differences help make that really cool phasey effect that's desirable. And that's why I don't just copy the same track. It just doesn't work. I think that's enough explanation for now. So I'll talk about how I use this technique in my recordings now. In my song Stereotypical, the verse sections, if you want to call them that, are pretty sparse instrumentally. There's not really a lot going on. There's a lead, drums, and a bass. That's pretty much it. Even stereo-wise, there wasn't really much panned left or right, it was all kind of just centered and mono. So I figured, why not double the main lead and pan it? So here's what it sounds like all alone. And now here's when it's doubled. I panned both of it left and right, but not too hard, because I still wanted a little bit of that phasey effect. If you pan both tracks completely left and completely right, you won't really get that phase interaction because they're not in the same channel. So I left a little bit of it in the middle, so there could be some of that. So anyway, here it is. Since there was so little going on in those verses, that really helps to fill it up, and stereo-wise especially as well. My next example of doubling is going to be from the Aurum song, and there's a certain section that's not in the demo yet, but basically it's a repeat of the main theme, but there's some like whooshy pads added, and this is what it sounds like all by itself. So that sounds pretty cool. And the keyboard that I played this on does have a stereo function. And this is what it would have sounded like with that on it. However, I wanted to try something different. I doubled the mono track again, and I panned both of them hard left and hard right. So this means this time there isn't going to be any phasey interaction. And here's what we get. It's quite similar to the stereo function that I showed before this, but I kind of like this better. Can't really say why, but I just do. So that's basically it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd also really appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe. It would really make my day. And I think it'll make yours too, somehow. Maybe. Let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Next episode, I'll be talking about some ideas I scrapped from the Catwalk song, why I didn't use them, what I didn't like about them. So look forward to that. And without further ado, I will bid you adieu. See you next time, guys.